Hello, everybody. We are live with Ms. Kymberly Keeton, who will be talking to us about collective archival practice. Kymberly, hello.
Hi, thank you for inviting me, Colleen. I just am so appreciative in this moment in time that, all that is taking place in these United States, in the world. I'm grateful to have waken up this morning and to have had a conversation with you.
It was a lovely start to my day too.
Thank you so much.
And so we'll get started probably in about 4 minutes here. I just wanted to open the room and let folks get settled. Let you say hello to the crowd.
Thank you for coming. All colors, genders, age brackets. Roxy Blue says, "What's up, my dog?" She's hiding under the table. She usually does that, which keeps me kind of calm when I'm doing presentations. So that's a good thing. And I guess I'll open this up briefly with a quote. Don't worry about what others think of you. Your greatest asset is your individuality. Stay true to that and let yourself shine. That is February 17th. I want to give a shout out to all of those who are in the South right now in Texas who are dealing with like just snow, lots of snow. Thankful for my northern lived experiences. I have real snow boots, people, not rain boots, snow boots. But just have a lot of people in prayer right now who don't have power, haven't eaten in a moment. Uh, you are in my prayers today, your families. And I just ask that if you do have those things, that you be grateful and thankful. Hopefully, this time it's humbling you. It's humbled me in many ways as well. Um, yeah. So I'm excited. I have a good time.
All right. And before we get started, just as we are waiting folks to come on in, folks, you will have the ability to use the Q&A if you are on a laptop or a desktop. You should be able to wiggle your mouse and at the bottom see your controls, and Q&A is one of your options there, and that's where you can pop comments and questions. Kymberly and I will be the only ones who are able to see those, but we will be able to speak those out for you.
My East Side doll on my lips. These are black people, black artists. Okay. Gotta give a shout out.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for today, right?
Yes. Yes. Thank you to the Broome Library, Channel Island, California State University. Yes.
We're super thrilled to have you. All right, folks are saying love it. Raheem says he's so excited to hear you and see you.
Ooh, we got 29 people in the snow. Oh my God, I wish y'all could hear this outside my door, like Texans, like they are still trying to leave. Like we gotta get to this godly thing here. Like folks gotta listen. Unbelievable. I like this closed captioning too. This is so cool. Like, this is what's up. I'm actually reading what I'm saying right now. And I'm like this every day, people. All day, every day. Crunk. Yes.
All right, it looks like we have reached time.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and get started.
All right.
My name is Colleen. I am one of the librarians here at Broome Library. In partnership with the Center for Multicultural Engagement and generously supported by Student Instructionally Related Activities Funds, Broome Library is thrilled to present Kymberly Keeton, offering the second lecture in our Black Scholars on Black Lives lecture series, titled Collective Relevance, Curating Black Art and History through Independent Archival Praxis. And a little bit about our speaker today. Kymberly Keeton is a native Texan, a nationally published writer, an art librarian and archivist, and genealogy curator. By day, the American Library Association Emerging Leader and the Library Journal 2020 Mover and Shaker, is the African American Community Archivist and Librarian at the Austin History Center, Austin Public Library. Independently, Keeton is the Chief Artistic Officer of Novella Media, a creative multimedia production company, and the founder of Art Library Deco. Currently, the writer is pursuing a PhD in data science at the University of North Texas. The creative interdisciplinary mixologist can be seen on the regular with her dog, Roxy Blue. And if nothing else, Kimberly is always taking time to read books, write hooks, and design the next.
Yes.
We welcome you. Folks, you will have the ability to type comments and or questions into the Q&A option. We will be reading those questions to Kimberly at the end of the lecture. And so you'll have an opportunity to ask her questions once her lecture is done. Kimberly, would you like to take it away?
Yes, let's get this art party started. It's like about maybe 20 degrees in Texas. It feels like it's like 13. Okay, so let me share my screen. And I would like, let me put this in the chat. Well, I guess I can say this. Today, the presentation is interactive, so you can log on to Art Library Deco right now if you would like to. You can log on to artlibrarydeco.space, artlibrarydeco.space, or you can just listen to the presentation, however you want to do it. Okay, so here we go. So first, I'd like to thank Colleen Harris and Raheem, her, I would say, partner in crime, for meeting with me 2 months ago to discuss this interactive presentation lecture that I'm giving today, entitled Collective Relevance, Curating Black Art and History Through Independent Praxis. And I would like to say before we get started, thank you for coming today. I really appreciate your presence. Okay, here we go. So here is the presentation outline, points for discussion today: meet the curator, lecture overview, the history of the Black Art Library, art as practice, timeline, Art Library Deco, manifesto, the repository, art demographics, and the future. And here you have an image by Miss Lois Malu Jones. And let me take you back. We started out with some Ramir Bearden. I curate Black art. Get to know Kymberly, me, Kymberly Maisha Dion Keeton. I began creating collage art installations at the age of 8. From that point on, art in its varied forms has been a tool for me to understand culture, history, and advocacy. Through my journey as an African American bibliophile and art collector, I have always wanted to own an art gallery. During my graduate school practicum is when I met the future Art Library Deco. So again, before we continue on, you can log on to artlibrarydeco.space to hear me talk while you're listening to the presentation, or you can just go through the presentation along with me. So I just want to give you a brief premise as it pertains to my art career. As it says, I started out at 8 years old creating installations in my bedroom. I know my mom, came off of a lot of money as I was growing up, because I would just, take physical glue, Elmer's glue, and cut out all different types of images, words, etc., and just plaster my walls. Today, I create collages from a different capacity. I want to pay homage to my ancestors in this moment, being that they've allowed me to have a platform such as this to be able to share my work and where I am today. So moving past 8 years old, I discovered that I was a writer, discovered that I was a poet, and how do you maneuver through a world as a Black girl, writing stories and writing poetry. Luckily, I had some great teachers in my life that allowed me to be myself. Um, I really didn't come into this thing knowing that I was a multidisciplinary artist until I would say my mid 20s. Today I'm 44, which equals 8, which equals creativity. Um, but I really didn't know what that meant until I began um, creating a magazine called Literafilia Magazine, which is now housed at the Library of Congress. It was my opening to creative publishing, as well as being the first African American poetry curator at the Arlington Museum of Art. I want to give out a shout out to Rachel Bounds for allowing me the opportunity to be able to utilize that space and solidify my name pretty much in the South um, as a poet, as a poetry curator, as someone who supports others in their artwork. Then moving forth, um, I decided that I wanted to make sure that I personally, as a writer, knew how to write a sentence. Um, so I decided to enroll into the University of Houston's creative writing program. And before I jumped into the school, when I moved to Houston from Dallas Fort Worth, I had the opportunity to work as the editorial assistant for Art Lies magazine, which is still in publication today. I worked for John, the publisher, for about 2.5 years. And I actually got to see how an art journal was ran, um, all the way from proofing articles to paying bills to actually putting out the magazine in different stores, locations in Houston. So quickly, I'm giving you a premise behind not only being an artist myself, being a writer myself, but actually putting myself in the mode of being an arts administrator, entrepreneur. So, continuing on, by this time, um, I applied for a grant through Young People For. I received grant money, so I'm able to publish Literafilia magazine, which we had produced like about between that time, like about 10 issues. And this is all while I'm in Houston as well. So I had met people from Fort Worth, Dallas, then moved to Houston and was able to create this massive network of Black writers, poets that work with Literafilia, as well as me working as the editorial assistant of Art Lives, and then been in college too. So I get out of all of that, graduate. I have a baccalaureate in English creative writing, a minor in African American studies, a graduate certificate in African American studies, and what was I going to do as an artist? After that, was I going to showcase my own artwork? Was I going to just write books for the rest of my life? I had a lot of things to think about. So one day I'm in my town home, which was called Studio 1034, and I see all these books, and I'm like, okay, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? And I'm looking at the books, and I'm like, okay, I may be a librarian. Art librarian. Let's see. Get into this world. Today I am a librarian. And during that time, I want to give another shout out to Dr. Anna Cleveland at the University of North Texas, because she allowed me to once again be myself, um, which is very odd as an artist and a Black woman in the world that we live in today, being able to maneuver through these different worlds that I was exposed to. Okay, so get involved at the University of North Texas and decide that, okay, I'm an art librarian. How's this going to work? Start reading, being involved in different events, then just putting everything into action. And I went to Dr. Cleveland and I told her that I wanted to meet the director of the Museum of Fine Arts Houston Hirsch Library. So that took place. Then I linked up with an old friend through my godmother, John Guest, who had just opened up the Houston Museum of African American History and Culture. And I ended up having the opportunity to create the world that I wanted quickly. Let's move on and see how that looks. Now, remember, through this presentation, I'm going to introduce you to a lot of things. And this is something that I want to just throw in there real quickly. I'll let you read this quote by Elizabeth Catlett. Elizabeth Catlett is one of the great sculptural artists in the artistic Black community. I actually had the opportunity to kick it with her for a whole summer in Cuernavaca, Morelos, Mexico. And I will give you a little bit of what she gave me. Kimberly, I want you to get on a train and I want you to ride. I want you to ride. I want you to live your life. You can Google her right now. I talked to her about my dreams and my goals and what I wanted to do with my life. One of the greatest moments that I've ever had is sitting with the great Elizabeth Catlett and just talking about my dreams, and then seeing her art, and then seeing what I could do as a Black woman with my own genius. And here behind Miss Elizabeth Catlett is a little bit of Jacob Lawrence, who was born on September 7th, before I came into the world, but we now share that birthday, along with the great Jean Blackwell Hudson. So, okay, quickly, lecture overview, curating Black art and history through, I'm sorry, I misspelled that, through independent praxis. Through this journey today, you will be introduced to Art Library Deco, an online African-American virtual art library. In like manner, you will learn about Black artists, elements, spaces, and places that help make this vision into a reality in the 21st century. And yes, I did design this myself. So, okay, here we go. This is a brief spectrum of those who have come before me that helped me gravitate to where I am today in this moment, sitting before you virtually. This picture here is of the African American Gregory School original building in Houston, Texas, in 4th Ward. So you should check it out. Go by there. I actually had the opportunity of watching it being built while I was a undergraduate student at the University of Houston. Go cool. So the history of the Black Art Library. Black art librarians is librarians and influencers. Sorry about that. That's Roxy Blue in the back. So some of these librarians that sorry about that. Let me let her calm down for a moment. Okay, so Regina M. Anderson, Vivian Ayers, and Mamie A. Clayton are 3 people in my life that I know from afar. Regina M. Anderson was I would say, the Harlem Renaissance librarian. And she had the opportunity to create, I would say, this microcosm of just all different types of artists, from jazz artists to literary artists to visual artists, including County Cullen, including Langston Hughes, Zora Neale Hurston. I mean, just an amazing, she has like just an amazing menu of Blackness that she was able to entertain, and not just entertain, but be able to help them in their careers as far as providing space for them to be able to write, to recite poetry, to put on their different plays, etc., etc. Vivian Ayers was the first African American librarian to receive tenure at Rice University in Houston, Texas. Not only was she the first African American art librarian, she also is the mother to two great African American artists that you might know, Debbie Allen and Felicia Rashad. And I've been doing work as it pertains to research about Vivian Ayers for like the past 5 years and 5 years to where we are now. And looking at her career, she was not only just an art librarian, she was an art collector, just a connoisseur of Blackness. Then when you look at the great Mamie A. Clayton, she was also an art librarian and art collector from California, and you can visit her museum today. Um, Moving forth, Black art collectors and curators who have impacted my thought process and how I choose to go about my life as a collector and being skilled at what I do in that area. Camille Billups, one of the great art collectors that just recently passed in 2019. Um, Very well known internationally as far as her art collection, in addition to um, just being one of those people that's approachable in the arts. I had the opportunity to work with her for 2 years and just learn about what she did, how she came to collect art, how she actually had the type of money that she had to be able to purchase the pieces that she had. Um, Marion Matthews, the great Marion Matthews, the first African American librarian to hold a post in Los Angeles, California, was also an art collector. Then we move forth to Black bibliophiles and directors. Bella DaCosta Green and Jean Blackwell Hudson, two people who I look to today for inspiration as it pertains to being a Black bibliophile and um, directing and leading others as an art influencer and art creative. And I suggest that you write all these names down today because these are influential people who still affect me in this moment as I'm talking to you, as it pertains to them defying the odds, them being okay with Black cool, being okay with saying I'm a curator, being okay with saying I'm going to support my brothers and sisters, being okay with being okay. So, art as practice. This is a 1 year, just brief documentation of how Art Library Deco came to be. So, I originally wanted to be a cultural anthropologist, and I applied to two universities, and one was UT Austin. It's so interesting because I'm in Austin. That's probably why I don't know. Every time I think about UT, in regards to me and my life, I'm thankful I became an eagle because we soar. I really don't want to be a cattle. Really don't want to be a part of that, the cattle, that brand. But being an eagle and soaring, yes, God, I'm thankful that that was introduced to me, because it has propelled me in all areas of my life as a Black woman, as an entrepreneur, as a writer, as an artist. So, in looking at this documentation, this was really quick. Um, First, I want to say a lot of people don't know about me that I originally started at Texas Women's University, and they didn't like my writing the first semester that I was there. They did not like my writing. One professor in particular did not like my writing. So being who I am, I stuck it in, tried to make it through, didn't happen, went to the dean, went all the way to the president, okay. History. Moving forth, met Dr. Herman Totten at a Black Caucus of the American Library Association conference in which I was being awarded for something. And he's sitting next to me and not knowing that I had just left TWU, which is across the street from UNT. He's like, I would love to have you in my school if you're not in school. And I was just like, okay, was that God saying that I can go back to school? So long story short, I apply like January. No, maybe I think it was it was January 2012. And I got in for summer. Me, Dr. Anna Cleveland, life has totally changed. 2013, really into my work, wanting to make sure that art and libraries make sense, that world is open to me. I found that world within librarianship as well as museums. Decide to apply to the Museum of Fine Arts Houston Hirsch Library, which is an art library, which you should know in every museum that you go to in these United States that there are libraries inside, and you have the opportunity to go in and look at their collections. I encourage you to do that at every museum that you go to. I'm quite sure if you are of Asian, African American, Latinx, Latino, a darker color hue, you may get certain looks, but still walk in anyway. Was able, again, which I started out in the beginning with getting both of those fellowships, which changed my life. Art Library Deco was founded during that time. So again, you can log on to artlibrarydeco.space and go through the online African American digital art library, archiving the visual experience of art, literature, and history through the eyes of artists and institutions in the United States and abroad. The digital art library stores exhibitions, collections, events, and curates art news for patrons to access daily. What makes us different? Art Library Deco. We're independently owned by a Black woman, me. What makes Art Library Deco different? We actually have a comprehensive art library LibGuide in which you can access any African American or African institution per Art Library Deco. What makes Art Library Deco different? If you log on to Art Library Deco now and go to the front interface and sit down and truly go through the library, you will actually see the library before you. Each block is a book that you enter, which is a shelf of Blackness, of art. There's so much to explore. Like, I'm just so thankful for this opportunity because I even had to sit down and look at all the work that I've done. It'll be 8 years in May that Art Library Deco has been in existence. And not to mention, we have a repository, which makes us different than the typical art gallery, where you can actually send your work to me and it's placed in a repository and you're archived as an artist digitally for the rest of your life. What makes Art Library Deco different is that I believe, as the chief curator, that everyone deserves a space for their art. What makes Art Library Deco different is that we fall on the shoulders. We stand on the shoulders of W.E. Du Bois, who created the Crisis magazine, who created Opportunity magazine, who opened up the doors for Gwendolyn Bennett from Giddings, Texas, to be an artist, to be able to create those covers that you see today. in those archives. And without those publications, you know, from the 1800s, early 1900s, I don't think I would have that premise that I have today of knowing what's good art, what's average art, and what's genius. Um, Not to mention, these individuals were also advocates for change, um, which I believe is so important as a publisher, as a chief curator, as an artist myself, as a writer. What makes us different? We're Black. We're all Black. That's all that I publish. That's all I will ever publish. Because we deserve to have an entity where our work is housed. And this is not just for the well-known artists. Art Library Deco is just not known for Driscoll, known for a Catlett, a Bearden. It's known for a Donay. It's known for an Olivia. It's known for a McGee. It's known for whoever you are today. If you're an artist and you're interested in having your work placed in the Art Library Deco. And not to mention, we develop our own exhibitions. We put together our own collections. It's a labor of love. So setting up the repository, I really wanted to make sure that not only were we archiving, Black art history and Black art and Black events, but we actually had a place where we're also archiving the Black art story from the beginning to where we are today, um, which I think is so important um, as a Black art library. Um, yeah, so archiving Black art repository features international, national, and local artists, developing metadata, being able to have control over that metadata is so important too. Um, then just curating collections, like just, local collections. Like I love local artists because it's just, I don't know, I don't even know how to put it because I was one of those, I still am. I've shown my artwork in a lot of places that you can read on my artistic CV, not my professional, my artistic. Like I have two CVs going on. And this is a McClinton right here. He's from he's from Austin, Texas. I actually got to show his work in a different perspective, but he will be sharing some of his work with Art Library Deco in our new art journal that will be debuting next year entitled Redux. This is an image that I had the opportunity to take at the California Rare Book School at UCLA in 2019. So, who is acclimated? Who do I reach out to utilize Art Library Deco? That would be researchers, collectors, scholars, artists, organizations, institutions, art gurus. And I don't want to just give you all of our numbers, but we have a significant amount of people that follow Art Library Deco. And I would like to be very clear that, when you say you subscribe to Art Library Deco, I know all of my subscribers. I know all of them because the emails come to me when you subscribe. So if you're just saying something, like you don't have to do that. You don't. Because I know all of my subscribers. And I think it's very important to say that because so many people say they support you and they really don't support you. So just want to put that out there. Support African American owned women businesses. Support, your homegirl's vision. Like be about it. Yeah, Black History Month. Every day. So Art Library Deco archives. This is some real work, seriously. And when I looked at it the other night, I was just like, my God, like this has been a one-woman show for a very long time. And now slowly things are starting to open up to where, you know, we'll get to the good stuff as far as grants and all that kind of stuff starting to come in, and people wanting to write for Art Library Deco, and me actually having the funding to be able to create a fellowship now for 2 African American writers and docents. So the virtual art archives inside Art Library Deco were established, of course, in May 2013. We have archived 3 posts per week that deal with African American art and African art throughout the diaspora. Now think about that. That's May 2013, and we're in what today? And I have maintained Art Library Deco, and trust me, it didn't look like it looks today. like, like no, it was somewhere else. Okay, but we made it. Yes, like just thinking about that, like I remember where it was like a blog, and you would just get one day, the next day, and I was just, you know, just trying to figure out what this all was in the beginning. And then, you know, it started to develop, and I started to see the look. And then I started, you know, as a collage artist, I started to see. I was like, okay. I think we got something here. Oh, Roxy, come on, please. Behind Ramir Bearden's words, another Jacob Lawrence. Remember, he was born September 7th, as well as the great Jean Blackwell Hudson. And if you don't know who Jean Blackwell Hudson is, she was the first director, first bibliophile to work with Arturo Schomburg. She created all of that while he was doing, you know, buying the books. Yes. And she was born on what? September 7th. Yes. Like ice water. So, like, I'm saying all this to say that all of these things, as you know, I was being thought about, were being poured into my life. You know, I celebrate them just as I celebrate, you know, my birthday. Like, yes, you gotta have it. You know, you gotta have your mentors. You gotta have that. You know, you have to have something to look forward to, and also looking back as well, so you know where you're going, and how, you know, your art fits in this this great play called life. So, what is the future? You know, you see that, like, that's a part of my vision board. It's a book actually. Um, and I couldn't believe I found that image too when I was creating my vision board for 2021, because like I can just see Art Library Deco being in there. And just to take you there as far as the future. So as a bibliophile, I own close to, we're gonna say today, close to 5,000 to 7,000 books. Truth be told, that spans generations. I've been collecting for a very, very, very long time. What I have in my office right now is probably close to, we're gonna say about probably what I have in this space, 1,000 that I collected from Missouri. Black books. I just buy black books. That's what I do, you know. And I do look at editions. Editions are important. Um, yes, my goal is to move Art Library Deco into a physical space that you can come into. It will have a gift shop. It will have a little coffee area where you're drinking Art Library Deco coffee. It will have my art collection, which includes some of these people that I spoke about today: Bearden, Catlett. Uh, who else could I put in here? A donate. I got one. Yeah, he donated. Yeah, a lot of these people have donated. Like Catlett donated a piece and put some money down for me to go to Ghana, West Africa too. The Stella Jones Gallery, got to give a shout out to Stella Jones. Also graduated from TSU, was the first pediatrician to graduate from Texas Southern. And you can visit her gallery in the French Quarters in Louisiana. Great influence in my life. But yes, a physical space. It's going to be a physical space that's going to house community archives. I'm also a PhD student in my second semester, and I see that whole in my professional life that, you know, that's also made it possible for me to visualize and understand how important the African American Community Archive is and the social ecology that stands behind that as far as social issues and things that are hindering Black people from being able to tell their stories. And, you know, I started out with, you know, Regina Anderson. I started out with Vivian Ayers. I started out with all these great Black women who created spaces. See, this is a space for you to be able to have your work archived, have a space for you to be able to be who you are. The grants are just now coming in. I don't want to go into all of that in this moment, but we have just recently received 2 major grants, which you will hear about nationally, internationally via social media, TV, all that kind of stuff. But I'd rather them usher that information to you, and I just want to be happy right now about it. I'm grateful for all of our subscribers today. I'm grateful for your presence today. I'm grateful to be able to have to share just a glimpse of what our library deco is. We did the moment when art went pop. Basquiat has a lot to do with that word pop. Andy Warhol too. He was white, but he was cool. He was cool. And I'm just thankful for all of my ancestors, all of the people who have encouraged me to keep going. Even the people that, you know, I just spoke to the other day that was asking me, like, do y'all have a logo? And they've been knowing me for like 20 years. Then I want to give a shout out to the people who, you know, I just want to give a shout out to all those people. So yes, we have an address. We do. It's not at my crib. This is a physical address. So we're getting started a little bit. You can send me mail here. Hopefully you're on the site, the website, I'm sorry, library right now, where you can subscribe today. If you subscribe today, I'm opening up a door to offer you a free 6-month membership. Thereafter, you will have to pay for that membership. Membership comes with its privileges. Subscribers, they just get news. Thank you for joining me today for this brief moment in time. Collective Relevance. Curating Black art and history through independent praxis. An introduction to Art Library Deco. An online, virtual African American art library that publishes genius, Black genius, Black art genius. Thank you so much.
Oh, Kimberly, thank you so much. It's wonderful. We would love to take questions and answers at this time from the audience. So please feel free to use the Q&A to post your questions. I'm happy to read them to Kimberly so that she can concentrate on answering you all. Thank you so much. You have done amazing work. Thank you.
And then, thank you. Thank you for watching. I so appreciate it.
Well, while we are waiting for some questions to come in, oh, here we go. While difficult to answer, I'm sure, what is your favorite collection in library art deco?
My favorite collection? I wouldn't say it would be a collection. I would say it'd be an artist, and it would be Ramir Bearden. And the reason why Ramir Bearden is because Ramir Bearden was a writer. He was an artist. He was an advocate for change. He was someone that was for the people. And um, I follow those who are about action. So everyone that's a part of this presentation today, the artwork, just me dropping their names, like these are people who are about action. And I wouldn't be who I am, especially as a collage artist, because like if you haven't seen my collage work, like you're missing out. And you really are missing out. Like, it's something I was listening to Carrie. I was listening to an artist last night, and he was saying how, when you look at art and as a visual artist, you study a particular artist. And the artist that I've studied as an artist is Ramir Bearden. And you study, but you don't study to take their style. Like, I'm my own person. I see the world a completely different way than Ramir Bearden. Like I was born in 76, and he was Virgo too. Like a lot of these people are Virgos, artistic people. He was born September 2nd to be exact. Um, but though we didn't see the world in the same way, we saw the world, and we see it from colors and shapes and just rare, just different forms. And then as far as like found materials, so like not he was not only just an artist, but he also designed comics. I mean, he also published a magazine. Like, all these people had something to do with publishing. All these people had something to do with creating a space for others. Because we have so many people who are artists, and you're not an artist to me unless you have a body of work. Let's be clear about that. In my life as a curator, as an artist who is published, as a visual artist and writer with a body of work, like, people throw that word around, but do you have a body of work? And what is that work about? Is it about you? It should be, but then it should migrate into other things. And that's how I look at Art Library Deco. So I know I just went from my favorite collection to my favorite person, but that's what art does to me.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Somebody else in the audience said, wonderful, thank you. And somebody asks, is copyright an issue for this library?
I'm a librarian. Come on now. Like, I don't even know what else to say to that. Like, yeah.
Okay. Kymberly, your talents are so many. How do you blend the genealogy, local history, and art together?
That has taken time. I want to give a shout out to Dr. Maria Gonzalez at the University of Houston, who told me like 2 weeks before my grandmother died that it was okay to be a multi-dimensional artist, because that is what I am. And like I said, it's about action, doing what you say you want to do. Like, many are provided the platform, but do you actually utilize the platform? And you got to be a very confident person to do what I do. I think, and confidence is cool. A lot of people have issues with it when it comes to Black people, but I could care less, because I am who I am. And my mother and father made great love on September 7th for you to see who you see today. So with that being said, I need to share my world with you. Why not share my world with you? How many people are sharing their world with you from an artistic perspective with substance? So it's not like we're just like curating news. No, I look at everything that goes out. Everything. I know everything that goes out as it pertains to art, library deco.
Wonderful. We've got a bunch of questions in the queue. People are very interested. Somebody asks, it's wonderful to hear about your mentors. How do you seek out or find these mentors?
First, I think prayer is always good. Asking, the higher being that you serve in your life to ensure that the right people are assembled when it's time. For myself in particular, as you can see, I'm a very open person. What's up? How you doing? Life is good. Very confident. So I don't have a problem going up to anyone saying, how you doing today? What you doing? What you do? You know, like seriously, this is all day. And with that, you know, I'm also a good observer. I talk a lot, but I'm a good observer of people. So I've observed everyone, and all of those people that I've mentioned who are no longer with us, Regina M. Anderson, Vivian Ayers is still here. She's like in her hundreds, and I'm actually doing research on her right now. Let me see. Mamie, Miriam Matthews, all these people I've read about them. Reading is a good thing. It's a good hobby. You know, like we need to be reading people, reading. Like, yes, reading about my mentors and developing a relationship with them that way. You know, and how I learned to do that, my father left this earth when I was 6 years old and I didn't know him. So in growing to know him through letters and conversations with my grandparents and, you know, et cetera, I got to know my daddy. Now I know why I am the way I am, half of me. So being able to accept him not being here and learning about him from afar, that's how I've gravitated to those people who I've read about and consider them like, kindred spirits every day in my life. And I would just say, just if you're seeking a mentor, know who you're talking to, you know who you're talking to, and really be okay if they're not a fit. If they're not a fit, move on because there's someone else out there that will fit with you.
Oh, thank you for that. And an audience member says, congratulations to you, future Dr. Kimmy. Thank you for your contributions and for the preservation of the work of Black artisans.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your important and fantastic work. Is Library Art Deco collecting digital artistry, Instagram and Twitter artists and poets? Like, does Art Deco have its own Zola style collection?
Does it have its own lifestyle collection? No, we don't have a lifestyle collection. That's a good idea.
Oh, it's Zola style collection?
Zola style collection. No, we don't. At this time, I'll think about it. Um, as far as social media artists, I observe. I observe. I'll say that I observe, but all art is not good art. So you gotta have the eye as a curator to know, what you're getting yourself into. And I don't like to promise anybody anything. I don't think that's fair. Um, yeah, I don't think that's fair to do that. But I think, as an observer, yes, I look at different artists, captivated by some things. But I think, we're in a society where, when one person does one thing, like when you look at Kinde Ya's work, um, I've seen so many artists copy him, like seriously, and he hasn't even been out like for 10 years, and I've already seen replicas of his artwork. So when I'm looking at art, I'm looking for, the maturity in your work. You should start out as something and then you should be developing into more. So it's like, a makeup artist. If you still putting on eyeshadow the same way as you were, 5 years ago, then why am I coming to you? So that's what I'm talking about. Like maturity. It should happen in your career as an artist.
Excellent. We have some more comments. Hi, Kimberly. Love the way your glasses and hat match. And someone shares, I also lost my father at 6 years old. So thank you for sharing this unique experience.
Oh, I lost my mama in 2015, and that's who gave me, that is why I'm an artist. My mom introduced me to Georgia O'Keeffe. Like my mom introduced me to so many great artists. She was my art docent. Like she made sure her children went to museums, art galleries, made sure that we were in creative art schools. My mom was heavily into fashion. She could cut up anything and it would just, you'd be like, what is that? How, did you just did that? Like, yes. So I have that gene within me. I mean, like, it's so many things that I wanted to be. I wanted to get in fashion, merchandising. I actually applied to the Barbizon Fashion School in Dallas. I was actually gonna go to fashion school, fashion merchandising school, but like, I'm glad I didn't because I get to do everything as a multidimensional person. Um, and I keep that to myself a lot because it intimidates a lot of people, you know. But it's okay. It's okay. If you are of that, I say relish in it. Like Maya Angelou says, you know, you're not just one person, you're many people.
Thank you for that. We have a couple more questions. Someone says, thank you for doing this. What is the best way to promote use of Art Library Deco to undergraduate art students? Could students have free access to explore the collection?
Yes, all you have to do is subscribe. Everybody, I mean, like, the library is free. Remember, I'm a librarian, an art librarian by trade. So it's always free for you to subscribe. But as far as being a member, remember, membership has its privileges. So you get, you know, extra little things. Um, what I'm working on right now is ensuring that Art Library Deco is listed as a LibGuide. So one of my goals by the ending of 2021, early 2022, is to be archived with 50 institutions within this country. Right now, we're archived with like about 20, but it could be more. I was looking at that this past week too. Like, yeah. So that, and then you just telling them, you know, word of mouth still works as far as marketing. Um, I'm still like, you know, we're a part of Facebook and Twitter. I'm working on the Instagram thing as far as social media is concerned. Um, but I know things have changed over time, but I just still want to have I don't know how to put it. Like, I think social media is good, and then I think it's dangerous in regards to when you have substance and you're trying to create a legacy. I don't want Art Library Deco to ever become watered down. Um, so when I look at that social media component in young people, I'm still working on that. And I think that's fair.
Thank you for that. Someone asks, did you mention a journal would be available through Art Library Deco in the future?
Yes, Redux. Right now we are collecting stories about Black COVID-19. And that information is up in Communique. Just click on Communique at the top of the site and you can look at what we're looking for. Um, I am actually working with my co-chair right now as it pertains to my PhD, and she brought something to my attention that we're possibly going to collaborate on, as well as with the University of North Texas and an NEA grant. So my goal was to have it done this year, but COVID came into 2020, 2021 as well. So I was like, well, I think it's fair to give people the opportunity to continue to write about their experiences because I see this year as a wash. I already see it as over. So if you have an experience you want to share, please um, go to the Black COVID-19 Index, which you can access via Art Library Deco. Submit your story, any type of media. It can be video, photos, etc., etc. And in this first issue, we will publish you. And that's only because I want to make sure that all of those voices are archived. Not only will they be archived in the journal, they will also be archived in our repository.
Very nice. Thank you. Someone says, thanks for the service of love to the community. Do you also foster the work of emerging artists?
Oh, yes, most definitely. Like, I love local artists. I love, and I consider local artists emerging artists, you know, like you're like still a part of that small community, and you know, the ego hasn't kicked in yet because people haven't bought your work yet. When that ego kicks in, that's when, you know, it's a whole different conversation. But the emerging artist, yes. artlibrarydeco@gmail.com. Just email me your work and we'll talk about it. I don't promise anything though, because it has to have substance. You know, you have to have some type of theme theory that you're working with. And, you know, emerging artists, I know you're emerging, but you still should be able to answer some of my questions. And it's just like any other situation as far as your pitch. You would pitch to Art Library Deco just as you would the Studio Museum Harlem, the MoMA, the South Dallas Cultural Center, the African American Gregory School. They show art there as well. Yeah, so it's the same type of professionalism as well that goes along with Art Library Deco.
Thank you. We have another question. And remember, if you have a question, please type it into the Q&A. Since you don't have a physical space at this time, do you envision virtual docents?
Oh, yes. Like that was the ending slide where I was talking about the future. I will be hiring two docents. I will be training them as well as two Black art writers. And I hope to have that solidified by January 2022.
Oh, very nice.
With a paying salary, people.
which is much appreciated, I am sure.
It won't be a lot. You still gonna have to have your day job, maybe. Maybe. It depends on, you know, it depends. But yeah, we trying to share the wealth. We are trying.
We really appreciate your time today, Kymberly. Thank you so much for sharing with us. For everyone who has been with us today, thank you for your time, for your questions, and your attention. The CSUCI Broome Library and the Center for Multicultural Engagement really appreciate your time. If you have your phone or mobile device with you, we do hope that you will quickly snap that QR code and take a couple of minutes to tell us about your experience today and let us know how we can best serve you in the future. To sign up for the rest of the lectures in the Black Scholars lecture series, the address is on your screen, go.csuci.edu/scholars. Kymberly, we cannot thank you enough for coming and speaking with us today. Thank you so much for your time and your energy. It was really wonderful to have you.
I think we got one more question before we go.
Oh, we got some more questions. Let's see. We have a thank you. We have a thank you, Kymberly. You've inspired an MLS student today. Nicely done. Thank you. This is an amazing project.
Oh, it's not a project, it's a library.
It is. I will say I have spent time in there and it's absolutely beautiful. So as you get time to explore it, I hope you all will. All right. Kymberly, thank you again.
Thank you. I'm really appreciative of this moment in time in history, and I look forward to coming back to Broome Library in person.
We would love to have you. Everybody have a good rest of your day. Stay safe and be well.
All right. Holla Black!